How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Live Grading, where I go in depth on my color grading process. For today's episode, I'm going to have another example of my process for the Bleach Bypass effect, as I believe this footage really calls for it. Before we get started, please subscribe as it'll help the channel grow. So let's begin. So before I get started with my regular node tree structure right here, I'm actually going to go into my timeline node and begin my process of my Bleach Bypass effect. So for those that don't know, you go into your layer mixer right here, go into your composite mode, and I like to do either an overlay or a soft light. In this case, let's try to use overlay. Nah. Let's try soft light. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's less crunchy in the highlights here. Layer, go to saturation, bring it down to 0. Then I go into my node right here, go into my custom curves, and begin my process. I want to preserve as much detail in the shadows as humanly possible. Bring down the highlights just a little bit. Maybe somewhere around there. Before and after. You definitely see in her eyes when I bring it up. Yeah, we're getting more detail back. That's good. The next step, I want to make some slight adjustments of the exposure. So let me go into my node there. Go into my primaries. Bring this down a little bit. Bring the gamma up a tad. Somewhere around there. And bring my lift down just a tad. There you go. Before, after, maybe even go into my log wheels and bring the shadows up just a little bit. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's good. Next step with this image, I really want to balance this out. There's a lot of warm, especially in the shadows, that I really want to bring out. So I'm going to go into my balance and just go into my offset. Bring it as close to the center as possible while still looking nice. Somewhere around here is pretty good. I like where it's sitting. It's a bit cooler, but I'm liking where everything is sitting. So my next step is going to go into my color depth. Go to my color space, HSV, disable channels 1 and 3. Go into my Luma mix and bring it down to 0. And play around with gain. Bring it far, then drag it back. Yeah, somewhere around there is pretty good. I like that. Now the next step is going to go into my look and play around with the primaries. Yeah, I like where that's sitting. Let me see what I can do with my log wheels. Maybe bring that range down to maybe around 219. Lift my shadows a bit because they're sitting a little too blue. Somewhere around there is pretty good. Let me bring my midtones down to something a bit cooler. Yeah, something like that. Maybe bring my high range down to like maybe 370, I think would be a good range. And then bring my highlights up a little bit. Check before and after. Yeah, I'm liking where that's sitting. I like the greens, I like the warmth, and I love what I'm doing with her skin. So the next step is going to my HSL. Going to my hue versus hue. And play around with it. I want to bring the skin up like that. Not too much. Let me see what I can do with that background. Yeah, I'm liking that we're pushing a bit of a blue here instead of the green. Yeah. Then in my hue versus sat, definitely want to bring that skin tone down a little bit. Bring the range out over here so we have more room to breathe. Maybe push a little magenta out of the skin tone. Somewhere around there. Yeah, maybe we can bring a little bit back. For those who don't know, I like to use the skin tone indicator a lot. Make sure the circle is in the dead center of it for perfect skin. And depending on the project, it doesn't have to be perfect, but still, it's good to have. And now back here, saturation, something like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. So yeah, I like what I'm doing with the skin tone. With the Bleach Bypass, I like the color palette a lot. But the next thing I want to do is I want to create that film texture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my smooth node here and just smooth out her skin just a tad. Because film doesn't always look sharp. It can have gritty detail, but it's not meant to feel like a digital print, if that makes sense. Let me see. Before, after. It's taking that digital edge out of her clothes. So before, after. And you can definitely see in the skin too. So that's good. Final steps. I obviously have like a preset when it comes to my grain and inhalation. So let's see what it looks like with the grain on. And the halation. You can mainly see it around here. Yeah, nice. So let me show you my settings for them. Here's the settings for the film grain when you have your linear light set instead of the overlay. And these are the settings for the grain strength, the texture, the grain size, and my global blend is going to be 0.7 instead of 1. Then halation, I have the threshold and the normalization all the way to the right. And when I click view isolated regions, I want it to look like this. And then I fine tune the green here, blue all the way to the left, and this is my strength. So yeah, this was a quick episode because I really loved this footage and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.